for 30 years of my life would tell people I don't have an artistic bone in my body, which at 46 I look and go, how crazy is that? One person can change your life. One person just giving you and saying, you've got something really special. When I see that, I'm the first person to say, please put some time into this. You are really, really good at this. Just starting stuff, just start it and just be able to see through it. It really is the hardest part. When I picked up a camera, I just had the most catastrophic business failure. Didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life. Was feeling a monumental amount of shame and guilt. I didn't think I had another option. Like, it was like, I've got to make this work and I've got to make it work really quick.
Before we get into this episode, I just want to thank you for being here. I started this podcast to spark conversations that inspire, creatively, personally, and everything in between. So if you'd like to support that mission, the best way is to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're watching or listening to this. That'll help other creative minds discover us and also ensures that you won't miss any of the incredible guests that we've got coming up. Because when this passion is shared, it grows exponentially. So thank you, and now let's get stuck into it. I didn't even know of Ruel until he's 31. My younger brother, he's 10 years younger, loves Ruel.
Oh, wow, awesome.
And I had no idea who this Ruel was.
I mean, the demographic is like, 15 to 25-year-old women usually. Okay, yeah. So he's fine. If you don't know him, it's probably not that big of a deal. But
I guess it's just like any pop artist these days. I just have no idea.
Yeah,
like if you were, well, not you, you'll be pretty well in touch with it. But if I was to go look at like whoever is in the top 10, 20, 50 Billboard charts, I might know a handful. Yeah. A handful is only because they've been around for a while.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, obviously with doing what I do, I still feel pretty connected, but there's still artists that I'm like, it takes me ages where I'm like, where did this person come from? And then, like Chapel Roan's a perfect example. I was like, who's this? And my friend's like, how do you not know who she is? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, she's been around for ages, and then she just obviously had this huge year last year. But a lot of the artists too, I'm like, she, that sounds like Cyndi Lauper to me. Like, it's like a remake of someone that I grew up with in the 80s.
That could be right. Actually, well, every once in a while, I don't listen to the radio. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But my son he's 8, right? So he likes pop music. And there will occasionally be a song that he'll like. I'm like, that is just a remix.
Totally.
They sampled a song from the 80s.
Yeah. And then they do that over and over again now. It's like, it's just remixes of remixes of remix. And I guess it does tap into that nostalgia of whatever. But it's like, is there anything like truly unique anymore?
I don't know. And that's something that like I think about music, because everything works in cycles, right?
100%.
So you're always taking influence, and something's really cool until it's not cool, and then once it just it's able to weather that storm of uncool, and then it comes back to being cool.
We'll see if Drake can weather the storm.
No, I think he's slowly but surely just
he's done.
He's done.
I think he's done.
I think he's done.
Everything I see, every move that he makes, I'm like, you just made it worse.
Did you see that photo of was it the Brisbane concert, of from behind Drake into the crowd, and it was all these women holding up signs asking for money?
I saw it on Twitter, and it was actually an American person that had tweeted it and said, this is the most dystopian photo I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's such a weird optic of seeing people, and also because that's funded by a gambling company. Like, it's not Drake giving out money, that's Stake giving out money. I mean, people will say that it's Drake.
What do you mean giving out money? He's actually giving out money.
Yeah, so that's why they're holding up those signs. He was giving out 20,000.
Oh, he was actually giving out money. I thought they were just
but he's like supported, or he's an endorser of that company Stake.
The betting company, yeah.
Yeah, apparently Australian betting company. But it's like, obviously he's being funded by like a betting company. So it's like, I don't know, I just find that
Where's the integrity in that? Oh my
That's
God.
what I mean. That's what I mean. It's zero. The thing is, everything that Kendrick said about Drake was just bang on. It's like all these people are saying that he lied. Like, he didn't lie once about Drake. Like, all those things are, yeah, so true. But
it's pretty nefarious though, the whole industry. Once you get to a certain level, like, you know, the Diddy level.
oh
Right? Like,
God,
Jesus.
yeah, that
Anything.
stuff is so dark.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I think if you've been around long enough, we've all heard the stories. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like you've heard stuff about, you know, Diddy parties and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out and you're like, oh, wow, it was like so much worse.
Yeah, it's worse.
Especially for, you know, well, I was going to say younger women, but in Diddy's case, also younger men, to be taken advantage of, people that really want to be famous, you know?
Yeah, if you go, like, Jesus, in the 90s, all, I guess, like, pop music throughout all the generations, from all the way back, from the inception of the industries. Entertainment industries just prey on the young.
Yeah.
And then you have these people at the top that just taking advantage of a situation.
Yeah.
And that's how the industries were built, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, yeah, you literally, it's that power imbalance. You're taking advantage of people that are desperate, that want to be stars, that will do anything to be rich and famous, you know?
Or just pushed in by the parents. I mean, like,
also pushed in,
look at
yeah.
Britney, oh my God.
Yeah, of course. That also happens all the time, so, which is really sad. It's like, why would you push your child into an industry like that? But yeah.
Yeah, but then there's, I guess there's just the breaking down of how these industries have to operate, right? Like, there's more prevalence of independent type artists. I hope so anyway, that are just trying to find their own way and not necessarily relying on the contractual structures that are there in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's the positive side of like things like TikTok or people that can blow up on social media, essentially, is that you're able to do it through a different platform now and have that. But then you've got to be able to, even if you do it that way, you've got to have the support or the knowledge or the know-how to be able to keep that going. Otherwise, it's like you have a moment and then what? And we've seen that a million times. Like, someone has a moment and then that's it. So it's like you've got to have that, the structure or, you know, body of work or whatever it is to keep that going. And there's only a minute amount of people that can sort of do that independently, I think.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot of people to be behind. You know, I know that with Ruel and even with having a major label, but the people there's so many people behind that one artist trying to get him.
And he's essentially, he's the talent, he's the face of it.
Yeah.
But just to get that whole media machine to operate.
It just, some of the emails that I'm CC'd on, is like, wow, it's like 35 people on this email. It's like crazy.
God,
you know, and I'm just the photographer, so it's like, you know, occasionally I'm CC'd on stuff because I might need to be across something. But
and I just wonder, like, someone of his caliber, because he started off pretty young, right?
Yeah.
14.
14.
How would you even expect a child to navigate an industry as potentially as nefarious as that, or even just to expect them to be able to tour?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have good management. Like, that's why Ruel's manager, Nate, who's one of my best friends and the whole reason that I'm involved in that project, but has been such a godsend, I think, because he's such a man of integrity and, you know, Ruel's welfare as a young person was always first and foremost, especially when we were touring. So the team that he created around Ruel were figures and people that could influence in a positive way, if that makes sense.
Because you came into the fold pretty early on then.
Yeah. I literally, like, I met him when he was 13. Like, so I started, the first shoot we did with him, he was 14.
Yeah.
He was in development at that stage. And I think the first song he did with M-Phases came out, I think he was like 14 and a half or something. And then I think the first tour that we did to Japan, he was maybe 15, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, that first tour. And I think, I'm trying to remember if I don't think his parents came on that tour. Yeah. And that's the other thing is, like, you've got to I know I was, and I know Nate was, and other people in the touring party, very conscious of being not parental figures, but just positive, like good people around him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's another degree of responsibility that you have
Yes,
that's just
100%.
beyond the role that you're there as well.
Yeah,
so there's the
and
whole
like,
nurturing.
Literally, yeah, it is like, I mean, I joke, I'm tour mum. Like I try and take on that sort of nurturing, caring role on tour anyway, just because usually I'm one of the only females anyway, but it's like, that's tour mum. And I'm way older than most people usually. So being in your 40s, touring, most people are either in their 20s or 30s. So I sort of take on that hat just because I naturally gravitate towards it. So, but it's a level of responsibility and care and, but also not wanting to treat him like a kid because, like, at the end of the day, he's our boss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a weird, like treating him with a level of respect because he's the artist, but also just like not being a complete fuck up around him. And, even the band were always really respectful and didn't, go out and get drunk. This is when he was really young.
Yeah.
They were always really respectful and stuff around him, which I think is really good.
And that just sort of ties back into what you were saying when we were chatting the last time about how, you as a photographer, the best quality about what you do isn't even just to do with the tool, the camera itself. It's just that connection and having that rapport and that trust.
Yeah, it's almost like the tool, I wouldn't say the least important thing, but it's definitely not the most important thing for me. The tool is a thing that I feel like over the years I've got really good at, but it was always about the relationship and the connection and what I have in the moment with the person. For me, I think that's always been my strength.
So do you reckon that's why you gravitated more towards this form of photography, whether it be, call it music photography, but even portraiture, right?
Yeah, yeah.
With musical art, it's because you're able to build this rapport, something as opposed to landscape photography or travel photography, whatever it may be, right? There's the gamut is so broad, but you've narrowed into this one where the intentionality is to have human connection.
100%. Yeah. Someone asked me yesterday, they're like, do you ever shoot landscapes? And I'm like, I have no interest in shooting landscapes. Like there's nothing like, sometimes if I'm traveling, maybe I'll take a picture of a landscape, but it's like, it's not what it's about for me at all. And I think I was also drawn to musicians specifically because I used to be a musician growing up. I think it was really unconscious because I don't think I was thinking about it at the time, but now on reflection, I think I understand musicians really well because I used to be one, and I have so much admiration for what it takes to be a musician in this country. So, and that's some of the feedback that I've got is that I just relate to people that, musicians and artists really well. So,
what separates musicians away from anyone else or
nothing
other creators?
Really.
Okay.
I don't think. It's like, this is the thing. It's like when you shoot famous people, it's like they're just people. But I think there's a way, I don't know, just a way of relating that's like an ease, a comfortability maybe, whereas some people might be, I don't know, weirder or something around people of note, whereas I've just never had that thing. It's just like that's a person. And
it could be that they're already they're inclined to be more open and vulnerable because they pour themselves into the work. So
I find musicians really, so the first thing that usually happens when someone arrives on set for a shoot, I would say 9 times out of 10, they'll walk in and they'll say, I hate having my photo taken. So immediately they're on there. They're like, I don't like this process. And my job is to transform that thinking so that next time they're like, oh, actually, that was really fun. I don't hate having my photo taken. I've hated situations in the past that I've had my photo taken, but Michelle made it a really enjoyable experience. So that's, for me, that's the goal. And it's as soon as they walk in, I'm like, don't even stress about it. I got you. We've got this. I go through, the plan for the day, make sure that they're really across and comfortable with what we're doing. but also just a level of, I think it's a casualness, but the casualness comes from really knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay.
If that makes sense. So I'm not stressed.
You're a pro.
Yeah, I am now for sure. Like, and I back myself in any situation. So it's like, if something's not working, we just move on. If I used to be really nervous about people seeing photos during the shoot, because I'm like, oh no, that it's a little bit like when a music artist shows you a demo and they're like, it's, you know, it's just a demo, we haven't mixed it or whatever. It's a little bit like that. It's like it's not the photo yet. But now I'm the opposite. I'm like tethering. I want people to see during the shoot. I want them, it's like instant feedback. If you're not liking something, we fix it now, because I don't want you to see it later on and go, oh my God, I hated my hair, or, you know, so we can fix it in the moment. And
so it's a real collaborative kind of.
It's so collaborative. And I think that's the other reason that I work really well with musicians, is that I'm not very conceptual as an artist. I'm really good at execution. So when someone comes to me with, even if it's a tiny bit of a vision, like it doesn't have to be a fully developed vision, but it can be a color or a texture or just a couple of photos of things that they like, or even things that they don't like, that can be helpful as well, just to inform direction. And then I'm like, I can take it from here. So I think that's why it just works with musicians, because it's like I'm bringing to life what they want their music to look like.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like this and you've got to tie the vision together. And I think that's why I get really frustrated sometimes, is like we're sort of seen as not part of the industry, which really is annoying sometimes. And we're not often not given a seat at the table in a lot of things. And, you know, you can be nominated for awards and you don't even get invited to the awards thing, which absolutely happens. But we're such an integral part. Like our work, I shouldn't say we, but our work, what we create, is literally the vision and the music coming together. So one of my favorite artists in the world, Jonathan Mannion, my favorite photographer actually, he said years ago that when you think of an artist, he wants that his photo to be the photo that you think of. If I think of Jay-Z, he's like, I want you to think of Jay-Z. It pops in your head. It's one of my photos that you think of. And like that has always stuck with me. And having those iconic images and iconic artists coming together and just being like, that's the juice.
I've heard you talk about that, and it hadn't occurred to me how integral that connection is until I heard you just put it into words. Because then you think about some artists, right? Like when you think of Beatles, you think of Abbey Road.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. It's so
and you
iconic.
think of the cover.
Exactly.
Like think of that photo and the walking across the street, and that is like.
And it's hard to separate. So obviously they're musicians, so the music is an integral part.
That's the most important part. Yeah.
But you take the music out of it, and our relationship with them is that when we imagine them, when we bring in them to mind, for some it would be hearing their music. Others would be imagery. For me, it's imagery.
Yeah, right? Or video clips is the other thing.
Video clips is
really
another one.
Important.
Yeah.
What it reminds me of is back in the day when you would flick through records going, say you've never heard, or CDs. I used to do this back in the day. I used to work for Sanity. So I'd flick through and go, what CD am I buying this week with my paycheck? And you would base your choice off the cover.
Yep.
So I think some of that is forgotten because we don't do that anymore, but there's still that, you know, looking on Spotify, looking on Instagram, making that relationship to the artist somehow through the visual. And I think sometimes I get frustrated is that I don't think we get the respect that we deserve in the industry, especially when it comes to, you know, being paid appropriately and all those sort of things. It's just diminishing. The longer that I'm in the industry, the smaller the budgets are and stuff like that. So that can be very frustrating. But, you know, I keep doing it because, I mean, look, if I didn't love music photography, I would have left this industry 10 years ago to go for something that was way better paid than you don't do this if you're trying to make money, let's put it that way.
That's most creative
Yeah.
pursuits.
Yeah. And look, you can make money. That's what the other thing is, like, some people are like, there's no money. And I'm like, I just vehemently disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think there is money. I just have to do way more shoots. I'm shooting like a lot more than maybe someone that was a wedding photographer and just shoots on the weekends and, you know.
They can pay pretty good coin for that.
Hell yeah. And look, I did weddings at the start and I hated it. And like, the money's great, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't like the process of the repetition and the lack of, like, every wedding is the same. Like, I did 52 weddings, I think, in my I've maybe a little bit more, maybe closer to 60 now, because I've done friends' weddings, which I still will do. And I love shooting for my friends, don't get me wrong. But if you're doing that week in, it's very formulaic. It's like this, it's the same. It really, even if someone says, oh, our wedding's really unique, and it's the same essentially with different people.
Yeah.
And I got really, it was like Groundhog Day. I was like, I can't do this, even though the money is amazing. So
that'll just be treating it more like a trade rather than
for sure.
as a creative pursuit.
And I feel like what I do every single day is different. Like, every artist is different. Their vision is different. There's not one shoot that is even remotely close to being the same.
When you listen to their music before, I assume you're going to be that you're familiar with the artist.
I try to. I'm not always super familiar with the artists because I work with like up and coming artists as well, but I always try and listen to, I'll get them to send me stuff so I get the vibe. I'm like, okay, cool, I can see what you're trying to do.
Do you then start to visualize what the set is going to look like?
No, not really. So I'm taking a lot. So I ask them to provide me like a mood board or a Pinterest, and then I'm also very intuitive. So I like sort of having a loose plan and then seeing what happens on the day.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm just wondering, like, you know, working with them as a client and me as a designer working with clients, sometimes at the mood board that they send and the inspiration, like, you've missed the mark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's my worst nightmare. I feel like that's really important to me is to hit the mark.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to nail the brief. That for me is everything. Like, I really want to get as close as possible with, you know, sometimes there's budget constraints because it's like, you know, you get a champagne vision with a beer budget or whatever they say, but you still got to do your best in all situations to bring whatever they trying to achieve to life.
So the reason I asked if you have a sense of what it's going to look like is because your work, there's a lot of vibrancy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of color, contrast in the composition, and whether or not that's something that you're able to see this relationship between music and color. Is that something that's inherently been?
No, because I think if you see my earlier work, like with Rise, and because I was very informed by hip hop photography and imagery, so a lot of my early stuff is black and white and like, you know, wide lens on the ground, you know, like shooting that really sort of 90s hip hop sort of stuff. That's the stuff. And then once I started doing studio work, and I was doing a lot of black and white work when I started because I love it. It's timeless, but I just got bored. I was like, and then I just started moving into color, and then I guess that's sort of, I'm really known for the color work now. But I love it, and it's like it can be, again, no shoot is the same. Like even if they'll give me references for one of my shoots, I'm like, okay, cool, I get what you're trying to do, but we're going to make it, it's got to be different in a way, you know, because you don't want stuff out there looking the same or like, oh, she did that with this artist or whatever. It needs to be individual to the artist as well. So that's important. Yeah.
And then look, you do have a flavour. I guess that they're coming to you because there's a particular...
there's a style, I guess.
There's a style or even it might not be the particular style. It could just be because that they see that you're able to... that there is trust in that relationship between you and this other artist. And like, I need someone, I need to have this kind of connection. I need someone to tap into what I'm trying to do. But back to, well, just to connect it back to what we were talking about earlier, about how the visuals is essentially the interface between the musician as an artist. Aside from their music, it'll just be, like you were saying, it could be the film clips. It is the photography, whatever. When we see their face, that is being elicited by an image that had been taken, right? Like we haven't, for the most part, we haven't had any personal interaction, engagement with the artist, right? So it's usually a photo.
Yeah.
And it just got me thinking when you were saying about how that you're undervalued. It could be because it's one of those things where you do such a great job that you almost disappear. It almost becomes invisible, right? Like, you know, it's almost like when you...
Or people think it's easy. That's the other thing.
That's part of it, yeah?
The click of the button thing. And you're like, yeah, cool, but like you can't just give a camera and go, XYZ person, you do that.
Yep. Exactly. Like if you see a bad photo, it would be pretty jarring. You'll look at that and like, and it will just won't.
And even if you get it technically, like you could copy the lighting and stuff, but it's like the connection to the artist is the thing that I'm really trying to nail.
Yeah. So in your shot, you have this technical component which you've mastered, and then there's also the more subjective, personal part where you're able to draw out something from the artist, and because it's something that you've mastered over the years, it looks invisible, right? Because it's just something that you've done so many times, and it becomes undervalued because it does look easy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's not until, you know, somebody that isn't quite as experienced tries to do the same thing where they go, oh, actually there is something different or special about that person that does that.
Yeah, yeah. And photography is just, it's such a unique one. I've spoken with so many photographers, and I didn't even realize like how drawn I was to the craft. And I don't even like giving it a label as such. And I've talked about this. I can't remember which photographer it was, but just the fact that we call you a photographer almost lumps all the photographers in the same group. But it's the same as saying that, oh, I'm a visual artist. Like, what do you do? I paint. It's like, well, that doesn't give me any idea. Right. Yes. And that's the thing with photography. There's just so many variables that play into that. Like, you know, I've spoken with a lot of more photojournalistic photographers. They like to just capture moments, whether 100%. It just be on the street. So they see something and it triggers something in their mind, like snap. Yeah. Whereas for you, it's more of a curated type process where you're trying to draw something out rather than going out and actively seeking it. You're creating that, and I think that's
it's sort of a bit of both. Like it's definitely having that loose plan that is part of the curation, and then having time and space to play. And play is a big part of my...
Just the experimentation.
Experimentation, for sure. Like I just want to try something that I saw or see if this works. I don't know if it's going to work, but just like give me, 5 minutes to try something, and then all of a sudden it's magic and it's like that's the shot. And I like if I am able to have some type of experimental time on set, that's where some of my favorite sort of work has been created, I think. It with the right person that has like, that might be up for, I'll give you a perfect example. I was shooting with a guy. I don't know if you saw it on my story, but a guy who's branding.
Go on, tell us. I need to hear the story.
Yeah, shout out to Nick Orchard, who's doing a rebrand and he's like a business coach, and I did some shots for him a little while ago, which were pretty standard, but he's like, I want to do something totally different. I look at all these business coach shots and everything is the same and they've got a suit on. And he's like, I'm not like that. Like, I am different. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's why you're so awesome at what you do, And he had this idea of incorporating oranges as in like being refreshed through orange juice and oranges. Like that's part of his rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did all these shots where he was like cut up oranges and he's putting in front of his eyes and stuff. And then I was like, what if you got a carton of orange juice and just sculled it? And it just went everywhere. And we just get some like action shots of that. Like I do really high shutter and it's just like, brrr. I'm like, there's going to be one in there. And he was just up for it. Like how many people are up for like pouring orange juice all over their face? And he's like, yeah, that sounds like an amazing idea. And like the shots are so sick because he took a risk. And it's like, you know, like maybe the practical use of that is just one great shot on the website, but like there's going to be a client that's drawn to that sort of, you know, risk taking. Oh my God, that is amazing. Like I love the type of person that would do that sort of thing.
Yeah. And you think about just in that moment as well for him, just to do it, it would just been like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, he literally was. He was so excited. Like,
just to break out of the mold and just to
yeah.
keep pushing the boundaries further and further away.
And he's like, he's did some business coach stuff with myself and my husband with our business, and that's the way that he tries to push. He's like, think outside the square, like, you know. So it makes sense that he would do that for his own branding shots as well. So that's the sort of stuff that, like, that just gives me so much energy. And we're all jumping around at the end of it. There's orange juice everywhere. We're like, I've got the best job in the world. Like this, why would you want to do anything else with your day than what I do? Like how brilliant. Imagine sitting at a desk job doing whatever you're doing.
I hear.
There's no way.
I think that experimentation and just that whole trial and error and just trying new things, that's something that you introduced into your work. And I guess that goes back to like when you even just first started, because that's pretty wild, picking up the camera so late in life and just, because what, so 31, picked up a camera, gifted a camera, started taking shots, 2 years later, released a photo book.
Yeah, I know.
That's nuts.
I know.
And like just was there, okay, tell me what that mindset was like, because just that process seemed to have happened so quickly and so much has happened since then.
Yeah.
But a lot of similar type framing of that where like I'm going all in on this, trying this, bang that out, next thing, bang that out. And there's just a level of just like throwing yourself into the deep end and not worrying about, or not being held back by any fear. You just kind of went for it.
I think there was a lot of fear. Maybe it wasn't. Okay, so the main thing to note was that when I picked up a camera, I just had the most catastrophic business failure, like lost so much money on a business, didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my life, was feeling a monumental amount of shame and guilt around that and what that had done for my husband, like thinking about my husband, our financial situation, and just what the hell am I going to do with my life? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he had gifted me a camera around the same time that was happening, sort of towards the end of that business sort of starting to fail. I was taking photos a little bit around then. And then when that went to shit, I didn't think I had another option. Like, it was like, I've got to make this work and I've got to make it work really quick.
Photography, that was the safe route.
Yeah, like, and music photography. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But I just, like, anyone that knew me between the years of 2010 and 2014 will tell you I was at every show, every gig, every social thing that had to do with the hip hop community in Melbourne. I was there. I was the girl with the camera. I was just there, present at it. I just inserted myself into this scene because I fell in love with it. You know, I had one friend, Briggs, who introduced me to the scene. And then it was when Briggs was coming up. And, you know, we started doing some stuff for him and I started following him around with the camera. And then I met Remy and Jay, and then I met a bunch of other people, Actually, I was talking about it with Mantra last night, just like, and Luca Lesson, these guys that I met in that time frame of what a really special time that was in Melbourne. If you were involved in hip hop culture at that time, it's just a really, I mean, that's why I called my book Rise. Like there was this feeling of something happening where hip hop had been this sort of underground thing, and then all of a sudden, all of these guys, mostly guys, were having this commercial success. So you were seeing the Hilltop Hoods, 360, Seth Sentry, Illy, Bliss and Esso. These guys are starting to have like real mainstream success. So there's this buzz, you know, and then you've got these really super talented people like your Mantra, Grey Ghost, incredible artists that I'm seeing going, how does no one know about who these people are? Like I feel like I need to document these people and like tell everyone. Like I just wanted everyone to know about all these other people that I was seeing in the scene doing all this really cool stuff. Like that's where the passion came from. And then I just started a portrait series because for me it was like, well, I want to know these people. I want them to know who I am and I want to know who they are. So if I start a portrait series, that's an opportunity for me to work one-on-one with them because I was shooting live shows as well. Like I was going to all the gigs, but they're on stage, so you don't have any connection with them. And I love shooting live stuff, but the reason that I think I've navigated away from it now is that I don't have the same. It's more like photojournalism. Yeah. And I love it, but it's just different. So I was doing all that live stuff, but I really loved that connection that I was getting in these instances with these rappers. So I wrote a list of 10 people. I'm like, I want to get these 10 people and just started shooting, like just literally started. And then it just snowballed. I just met a person and I met a person and I met a person. And then I had an opportunity to shoot a new era campaign with M-Phases.
Cool.
A legendary producer. Shout out to Mark, very dear friend of mine now. But so I think it was for Acclaim magazine and I was sent out on assignment to do, he had his a new era cap, a Good Gracious cap, when he was releasing that particular album, which is an amazing album, by the way. And so, yeah, they sent me along and I was like, oh my God, like I'm working with M-Phases, like he's a legend. And we just hit it off and I told him about the project and I was like, oh, would you be part of this series that I'm doing? He's like, yeah, that'd be great. And so when I did the shoot for him at his studio, he's like, oh, you should speak to my manager, Nate Flagrant. He's like, he knows everybody. He's like a hip hop DJ. He knows everybody. And I was like, and I'd met Nate the day that we did the New Era shoot and I got I had a bad impression. I was like, this Nate guy, I'm not sure about this Nate guy. I'm like, yeah, not sure. Nate ended up being the person that literally changed my life. So my radar was way off and he's to this day one of my best friends.
Cool.
Yeah, and literally the person that I think has shaped my career the most. And so when I went into him to say, hey, I'm doing this project and I showed him some of the photos that I'd done and what I was trying to do, he was like, I want to help you. And he basically just opened up his contact book and he's like, who do you want?
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Wow.
And like there's no way I would have been able to do that project to the extent of getting all of those people without him. Like maybe it would have taken me 10 years to get there. So he was that plug, I guess. And then he ended up coming on as a co-producer and he helped me with the distribution and marketing of the book as well and the tour that we did and all the gigs and stuff that we did as well.
Yeah, you kind of wonder sometimes, like having these connections, how much people are already willing to offer help.
Oh my God.
Right? When you're talking about busting down doors, it could have taken you that while, but as soon as you just get an inroad, this person's willing to help, especially if it is within an industry like Australian hip hop where it was up and coming. It was at a point where it was starting to ascend.
Yeah.
And everyone that was part of it was probably not quite at the point where there was like any infeuding or rivalries. It was still like just one thing where they're all coming up together.
Sort of. There was some rivalries, but I get your point. I take your point.
Yeah, well, everyone was still like they were still all small pieces of a bigger kind of...
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
And they all wanted to see the growth of it.
Yes.
So there was that willingness to kind of like jump in and...
Yeah. And like, because people have asked me before, they're like, you know, as a woman in the hip hop scene, did you find it hard? And I'm like, no. Like, quite honestly, everyone welcomed me with open arms. And I like, Nate always said, he said, your work always was at a level. Like, you came in, and I guess because I wanted to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for any other reason than, like, I'm not dating any, like, I'm already married. I'm not dating any rappers. You know what I mean? I'm there to shoot. I'm going to shows and I'm coming to shoot the show, and I'm being professional. I want my work to be better every time. And so I was just taken really seriously and just respected and welcomed with open arms. So I feel like I was really fortunate that some of my biggest champions, pretty much all of my biggest champions at that point were just amazing men, you know, and I am very, very grateful.
Yeah, well, look, at the end of the day, you brought in a level of equality that matched their expectations of what a high-level professional photographer should be. If they wanted to be represented in a way, if it was, I dare say that it might not even matter what your background is, whether male, female.
I agree.
What ethnicity.
I don't think there was many people at that. Well, there just wasn't that many people doing it professionally. Because I went professional pretty much straight away. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I like, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. So, you know, there's obviously hobbyists around, and like, no shade to them whatsoever. There's people that were documenting the scene for a long time. But I wanted to come in and go, it's actually my life. Like, I'm doing, this is my life. This is what I'm doing now.
And this is what I was thinking about, like, just all the things that you've done at the different stages. It's all based on just getting shit done.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just
100%.
Right? Like, it's, you know, and it's something that I've been thinking about for the last little while, about action.
Yeah.
And how basically that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could have these creative ideas and creative visions, but without any kind of execution, even if it's shit.
Yeah.
Even if it's shit, even if it is just that fear. And this is, I suppose, what I'm trying to better understand is like, if there was any fear and trepidation, it wasn't anything anywhere near enough to have stopped you or to even hinder you in any way, because you just went from go to woe like pretty quick.
It's a good thing to sort of reflect upon, because I don't really know where that comes from. Like, I don't know why I'm like that, if that makes sense.
It's a good quality to have.
But I notice that in some of my favorite friends that are like artists that I think are a million times better at their craft than I am. Like, I look at their work and I'm like, I basically need to delete my... You
mean photographers or just
photographers,
other...
artists? It's just a thing that I've noticed. There's some, they'll start things and not finish. Like, that's a thing that I see. And I think that's the only point of difference really, if with some level of success or a level of success is being able to finish stuff.
See it through.
Yeah. And it might not be the best thing. It might not be perfect. Like, I look at Rise now and I'm like, I have no idea what I was doing. Like, some of the photos I'm really proud of. I'm like, I can't even believe I just picked up a camera and took a photo like that. And then some of them are like, yeah, that's, you know, it's not the best photo, but who cares? It's documenting a thing that's 10, 11 years ago now. From when it came out, so 14 years ago, from when I first, you know, it's a long time ago.
But like, where would you be now if you hadn't had taken those photos that you can look back on and think, oh, that's probably not the best photo?
I mean, you know, there's nearly 200 photos in that book.
Yeah.
So what a great way to learn, is just by doing, and I don't know any other way. Like, I mentor a lot now, and I think my biggest frustration is, again, I see so much talent, and I'll be mentoring someone and I'll be like, okay, so this month do X, Y, Z, do this, 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 and if you can do this many shoots a week or whatever, and then I meet with them a month later and I'm like, what did you do this month? How did you go? And they're like, I did 1 shoot or I did 2 shoots. And I'm like, cool. This industry is so hard and so competitive. You have to shoot as much as you physically possibly can. Like, I just don't think the reason that I mentor that way is that I don't see any other way. I don't think I've seen another path where someone hasn't just been all in and made it.
When you're all in, it's all in to also having to be active as well. I think that there's, when someone's all in and there's still reservation, even if it's just to slow down or to kill momentum, I think that's when it can get pretty dangerous. To give an example is that I've been getting back into painting now. That's something that I haven't done in a long while. Before these ones, it was probably about 15, almost 18 years since I've had it painted. And I had a pretty poor relationship with that. But aside from that, it was having this podcast, speaking with different artists, has really just reinvigorated that drive and that passion to do it. And just over the weekend, there was bits of equipment. Well, for the longest while, I've been trying to find the right tools that I needed. And just the day before I went out and bought a whole bunch of shit, I was just asking myself, is this the right thing to do? Should you do it? And I was just like, what's with this apprehension, man? Just get the shit and then just start. And I've had artists come on, and because I'm just thinking to myself, could I actually do this? Is this something that I can do? Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a hobby? Am I going to be a hobbyist, or is this something I want to turn into something more than just that? And if I'm being honest with myself, I want to pursue something great, but then it's like, why are you being so reserved about this? What's holding you back? And I've had highly accomplished artists sit across from me saying anyone can be an artist. Anyone. And then I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what's the apprehension? So when I was like looking and studying your work and your journey, I'm like, she doesn't hold back at all. She just kind of goes for it and goes hard at it. And
work it out later,
I guess, right?
I don't know. I didn't know how to.
Or not even work it out. Like, you are working it out as you go.
Yeah. But like, I didn't know how to make a documentary before I made her sound her story. Like, I had no.
And you didn't
idea.
even, from what I understand, you didn't even go into it anticipating a documentary was going to come out of it.
Originally was just we talked about documentary, but I didn't know what it took to like, if I had have known, I probably wouldn't have done it. And that's probably a good thing. Yeah. Like, having that ignorance. Yeah. Because once you're in it, and both Claudia and I, we're both finishers. So it's like, well, we're in it now. We're just, looks like we're going to be doing this thing. And like, that was a 4-year project, and that nearly killed us, both of us. Because it was so hard. Like, it's so unbelievably hard to make a documentary with no money, like no funding.
And a whole bunch of artists that you need to coordinate with as well.
Yeah. I mean, the coordination part, at least I feel like that's the bit that I'm good at. Like, I can, I used to be an event manager. So like, this is why this sort of logistic stuff comes really easy to me. And this is why when you say anyone can be an artist, I, for 30 years of my life, would tell people I don't have an artistic bone in my body, which at 46, I look and go, how crazy is that? I look at what I do, like, you know what I mean? So I think everyone does have it in them. It's just, but yeah, like, just starting stuff, just start it and just be able to see through it. It really is the hardest part. And
it's that 0 to 1 though, like just to get that take that first step, because if you had a camera in your hand and the business that you were in when you were 31 wasn't failing and you were doing well, would there have been any reason for you to? No,
absolutely not.
So
like
it's
my,
crazy
it's
to
like
think.
sliding doors. Like what would my life? I think about that often. What would my life look like if that?
What would it look like?
I have no idea. Like it's so that feels like a different life. Like that feels like I don't even know that person. Like that is totally because as I was talking to Luca Lesson yesterday, as we were talking about this period of time where we met all these people in Melbourne, I found my people. So it wasn't just like I found this craft and this, you know, it was actually the people that, you know, people that knew me before that started seeing me in my 30s. It was almost like I had a midlife crisis, but it wasn't that. It was actually that I could be myself finally. So I started getting tattoos. I shaved off half my hair. I had colors, like experimenting with fashion and stuff because that's who I was. But for 30 years of my life, I didn't feel like I could be that person, or I didn't have friends that would understand that. And then all of a sudden I'm in this scene. I'm like, oh my God, these are my people. Like, you know, people that really understood me, and I feel like my most relaxed and comfortable around. And it's I'm not pretending, it's just who I am. So I don't know where I would be. I don't know. That is that's an interesting question to ponder. And my husband and I sometimes is like, oh, that was interesting time, but so grateful to be here. And like I said, it's the best job in the world. Like why I cannot imagine doing anything else.
Whoa. What about if you're on the other side of it and you were the musician, having a musical background, and you were the musician instead of the photographer documenting the musician's journey? How would that compete?
This is why I think musician is hard.
Yeah.
Like on a different, like you are so front facing and everything that you do is so scrutinized. You know, I have so much empathy. I think that's why I really, really connect with those people, is that I have so much empathy for what they do, because it's not only are they bearing their soul like in their music and stuff, but like every part of them is judged. And now it's like people expect artists to be everything. Like not only, you know, role models and look like they want, you know, the most perfect vision of what a person should look like, but then it's like, but I want you to align politically and I want you to speak out, and it's too much.
That's insane.
It's insane. It's too much to look at for one person. They're not meant to be that. So I don't think, I think that I wouldn't have loved that life. Like I still like I love singing and I love music. I played lots of different instruments and I love going to live shows so much, you know, like it's, oh my God, it's the best. But yeah, I'm
being in the scene without being the front person.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like being a Coldplay drummer.
Yeah, literally. And like I'm quite extroverted, and I like, you know, I don't mind being on front of the camera anymore. Like but I don't think I'd want that to be my whole thing. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm fine just to step back and go and make that person look good. And
well, with that said, because you've spoken a lot about, like, you've shared many of your stories about your come up and all the projects that you've worked on, and then you've really owned that identity of being a photographer. So in your own right, you're also, you have this brand about you, and you are synonymous with the craft of photography, much like how a musician is. That, you know, not necessarily saying that a musician is one dimensional because they are a musician, but like you were saying, that there's expectations, different expectations that go beyond the craft. But you're also, for you are also a reputable photographer. So there is that craft and you as a person that's very much synonymous. Like there's no real separation.
Yeah, it's very much
like, and of course, like in a public facing sphere,
for
right?
sure. Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I think COVID was so hard, because like photography is it's so intrinsically like my identity, and then that was taken away for 2 years.
So then you started Twitch.
Yes, I started Twitch. And like that's why I think I'm more comfortable with front-facing stuff, because I was live streaming for 2 years all around the world, teaching photography, building a community of people, helping them get through COVID by giving them little tasks to do. Okay, this week we're going to shoot this and then we're going to come on Sunday and we're going to have a look at what everyone shot for the week and create these little challenges for people. And like, thank God I found Twitch.
How did that community grow to?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Would have had thousands of thousands of people. Like, I mean, photography streaming is very niche. There was a core group of probably like my Discord, I think, ended up with about 450 people.
Oh, geez.
I just closed my Discord last Christmas. But yeah, I think there was like 450 men. But, like they were my core people that, and there's the 100 people that would show up all the time and that you become really close with. And then when I traveled, I've met a lot of these people now, which is really cool. And I met so many amazing people through Twitch. Some of my like closest friends to this day that I talk to on a daily basis, music producers, rappers, photographers from around the world I met during that time. So like, I'm very grateful for that experience as well. I was like, we joke that I was like the anti-gamer girl. Like I was the streamer on Twitch that was not streaming gaming. And I was doing photography, which is like really weird, but like and niche. But I had a ball, like, and gosh, it was a lifesaver during that time. Like I would just be able to turn on the camera 3 or 4 times a week and connect with these people from all over the world. And I think we were all each other's lifeline.
Yeah, it gave you that opportunity just to still maintain that human connection.
Yeah, which we just desperately needed. And like I think, and the reason that I stopped streaming is that once my life went back to normal, it was just impossible. I was hoping to sort of incorporate it, and it just became impossible. And I think also too, like the audience wasn't really there after COVID. Like they were, so then it's like it becomes a bit tricky where it's like, not that I'm like super numbers focused or whatever, but there's just like lots less people there and a lot of people lost motivation. And yeah, a lot of the photography community, of streaming community in general, saw that like big drop offs because everyone was going back. Everyone's just going to go shoot again, But I was really well supported by Twitch Australia. I was a partnered streamer in the end, which was crazy. They really, really helped push, like Twitch Australia was really helping me push. Like we believe in you. This is really cool. There's barely anyone doing this in the world. We want to kind of get you out there, which is really cool. But it was like a moment in time and things come to an end.
And like that was another thing. I mean, we can say, your journey has just been about taking action. But so much of it is timely. As well, right?
Timely action.
Timely action.
Like, what do they call it during COVID? Pivoting. Like, it's that pivot thing. Like, one of my friends calls me the chameleon because even before this photography thing, I've had so many different lives before. Like the 30 years, there's a whole other podcast on what was I doing before photography, because my life was also quite crazy and I was always I worked at the NBL, I worked in AFL, I worked in film. I've got a whole career working in film production. I was Dakota Fanning's driver on Charlotte's Web. Oh, cool. Like I've got crazy stories that happened before I was a photographer. So my friend's like, you're a chameleon. Like you just pop up and you reinvent yourself. And I hope that never changes. Like I hope if something happens and I'm, touch wood, some situation happens and photography is not an option anymore. Like AI takes over and it's like, oh, well, our husband and I talk about this all the time. We're like, what's our exit strategy if AI takes over? I feel confident that I'll find something else that like I can.
That's the thing, right? Because you've got to, if you peel it all back and just look at the underlying foundation of all of this. And I suppose that, what we were saying earlier was that your photography isn't even about the photography. It's about just trying to have that connection, to find that connection with your subject, with your client, with the musician, and capture it and then have the audience see what it is that you saw. So there is some sort of essence behind the work there, and it just so happens it was a camera. I wonder what it would have been like if instead of getting a camera, if Jarvis gave you, I don't know, like a set of brushes or something, you know?
I don't think I can paint. Maybe I could. I could.
Well, you couldn't take a photo before you got a camera.
That's true. That is very true. Like I could. Although I have a look at my early work, that's actually a really good place to land for a sec, because I didn't think I could take a photo, but I look at my really early work, and I had 2 or 3 mentors, photographers, that were looking at my work really early on. And I know all of them were like, no, there's something here. Like I remember one of my really close friends, Johnny, my bestie, he was like, you've got the eye, like you just have it. And some people have it or they don't have it. And I've seen that, like once you start sort of looking around at people that just pick up cameras, you start seeing it. My friend Joel, Bam, he's the same. He just had it straight away, just like you just got it. So there is obviously an element that you can teach, and there's obviously an element you can learn, but some people just have an eye, and for some reason don't know why, because like I said, I wasn't doing anything like photography before.
Would that be in the composition of it?
Yeah,
so
the
just
composition,
the framing.
Yeah. So I was the very first shoots that I was doing, I remember showing my bestie this shoot that I'd done. So I used to, years ago, I would do freelance modeling. So I used to model for photographers. So I knew the process of how you would tee up a shoot, like on Facebook, and find models and find stylists and makeup artists and go and do a shoot. Like I knew how to do that because I used to be part of these shoots. So that's what I was doing at the very start, teeing up model shoots. And I remember showing one of my bestie, Johnny, and he's like, this is your second shoot ever. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is really, really, really good. And I think just having a few people that gave me that confidence made all the difference. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about mentoring now, because one person can change your life. One person just giving you and saying you've got something really special can change your life. And that's what I try. When I see that, I'm the first person to say, you are really, really good at this. Like, please put some time into this. You are really, really good at this. So, because it might change someone's life.
That's a pretty key part of people that are starting off, you know, just knowing, because it comes back to that fear, that trepidation. Am I doing something? Am I doing it right? Yeah. And, you know, that fear of failure can be pretty stunting. So when you have someone of your caliber, your expertise, give them just a bit of a nudge, just guide them in that direction and just kind of like set them off and let them go forth and give them the confidence just to fuck around a little bit.
Yeah, just play, just have a crack, really.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is like, you actually can't work hard enough. Like that, like just do the work. Actually, one of my friends, Chris Cafaro, amazing legend music photographer, he's in his 60s now. And he says that to me constantly. He's like, they've just got to do the work. They've just got to do the work. And they do. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah, that was something that Nate was professing a bit, was just to persist and just to outlast and just keep going.
Yeah, it's still there.
Just like don't even question stopping there. It's just not an option.
Not an option.
So you just keep going, weather whatever storms, because, you know, at every juncture that you get at, then if you're able to overcome that, you can also know that that was the stopping point for a lot of other people. Yeah.
And also I think remembering that what we see on social media, like we only see people's wins. So I think some people get really, I know people that I mentor are like, oh, I feel like I'm not as far ahead as I should be, and I'm like, who are you comparing yourself to? You could only be comparing yourself to yourself, because like everyone started at different points, different ages, different whatever. Like you're comparing yourself to someone who's been doing this for 10 years, or even if they're the same age, like don't do that. Don't compare yourself. It's like you're on your own path and you will get there. And you're also not seeing all these other people that failed that are not posting about it. You know, you're only seeing, oh, I did this today. Oh, I got this. You're only seeing wins, and that can be paralyzing for some people. So just try and shut that noise out.
It's an interesting one because it's not even just when you say like the wins versus the losses, who even is to judge what that loss was or a failure rather? Like what would deem something as a failure?
Well, that's the thing is like some of the biggest failures are the biggest learning lessons. Like my catastrophic business failure, taught me to be a way more astute business person because I learned who to trust with my money in situations, who not to trust with my money, and what like having control over certain things and visibility and all these very hard business lessons that you should learn before you give people your business with money. But it just made me a better business person. So, and I think that's having really good business skills. We haven't really discussed that today, but I think is one of the key parts to being successful as well. Like you have to be a good business person, communication, deadlines, being on time, all those really basic things that a lot of artists really struggle with. I mean,
that's what you focus on in your workshops, right? With your mentoring is just those little tiny 1%ers that are outside the scope of the actual technical part of the work.
Because I find like the technical part, you know, it's not easy, but it's easier to learn because everyone wants to teach that.
Yeah.
No one wants to teach the boring business stuff about, okay, who do you use for your invoicing, your client management system, how are you delivering files, all that really boring day-to-day stuff, but it's actually the most important stuff, like to get that seamless, streamline experience, to be like, this is actually a really easy experience. I loved working with her. I'm going to do that again because repeat business is what's going to give you a career.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, you are right. I think that, you know, when you talk about just the little things that you can do, right? If you're, you know, showing up on time and just delivering on your promise, at the very least your promise, or over deliver if need be.
100%.
It's all these little things which isn't even necessarily, they don't have to be business related. It could just be reflections of you as a person. How do you carry yourself, both in business and in play or in your personal life? I don't think that I personally don't think, I was actually talking to Josh Scott about this, right? About how I don't think that you are actually able to separate business and personal. I mean, this is me. Like, I think that however you carry yourself personally is how you're going to carry yourself in business as well. It's like, what's your integrity? Like,
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are some people who are definitely absolute killers in business and slobs behind the scene. I suppose that, you know, they're extreme examples. But how if you were to play the business game and you were going to be a bit sneaky, you're a bit mischievous that way, it's like, that is not just strictly business. Like, that is you carrying yourself in that way.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is just like a lot of what you're teaching people it's just personal development, and then how you just transfer that across to your photography practice.
Yeah, 100%. Because like your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
So if you stuff up a job or whatever, like, you know, my husband always says you're only as good as your last job, and he's also got that relentless drive and ambition, and I think it's why we make such a great team. It's like that client's going to remember that last thing that you delivered. It doesn't even matter that everything else before was amazing, but that last thing. So make it the best thing you've ever done, and that will keep driving you. You know, like to just over deliver, like you said before. Like I'm a big fan of like just over delivering, and meeting deadlines is a really big one for me. Like cannot miss a deadline. It's really important. You know, doing things when you say you're going to do them, being on time, like really basic stuff, but you will be surprised at how many, I think, you know, just artists in general are not really great with that stuff.
Yeah, I deal with a lot of them and trying to coordinate
time
schedules,
management and
time
stuff
management.
like that,
Oh my God.
I see it all the time too. And it's a shame because it's like, I get it. I actually get why that type of person that maybe is a little bit time blind or something is drawn to artistry. Like, I get it. It's like, that's why you'd be a brilliant artist. But it's also, I think, while some of those people don't succeed as well in sort of like a more commercial world.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the goal, and that's totally fine. Like, there's no, absolutely no looking down on that person or whatever. But it's like, if you do want to make it a successful business and have this as a career versus just a hobby or a thing that you're doing on the side, they're the little things that will set you apart.
Yeah, that's true. I think that it is how you want to frame what it is that you do. What's the purpose behind it? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? You know, if it is going to be a profession, then be professional.
Exactly. I think that, and if you just want to be an artist and that paints beautiful things, that's totally fine as well. Like, there's sort of no, it's the reason when I start mentoring, I say to people, what is your objective? Because there's different paths here. I can teach you both. Like, if you just want to be a photographer that shoots gigs for publications and shoots for free, I can tell you how to do that. But if you want to make this a career, it's a different set of skills that I need to teach you.
Do you think that if there are two very distinct people, I mean, there's going to be shades of grey in between there, but let's just say if someone who just wants to remain a hobbyist and then one that wants to turn into a profession, is there a point where that hobbyist just realizes that, you know, because even just to be a hobbyist, there's a lot of things that you have to know where just by gaining that knowledge and that experience, you just naturally transition into, you know what, I can maybe make something out of this. Is that generally how it will go? Yeah,
I mean, that is definitely one of, I think, the mindset thing to like know that it's possible, like to actually say, I can do this. Because what I see a lot of is like, oh, I don't want to, I think it comes from fear is my gut feeling, but I just want to do this as a hobby because I love it so much, and I don't think I would love it as much if I did it every day as a career. And I think that's maybe a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Because as someone that does it every day, it's the best job in the world. Like, why would I want to do anything else? Like, I take photos for a living. So I think sometimes there's fear of failure. So if I just stay as a hobbyist, then I'm never going to know if I made it. Like, I'm not going to be able to try it and fail. So I'm just going to stay as a hobbyist. I think sometimes, maybe not all the time, but that's what's going on. My whole thing is, but what if you try and this is your life? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if it's the best thing you've ever done, but you didn't try because you were scared?
Fuck. What was the what's that saying? It's like, you know, that you're living two lives, the life that you live and the untapped potential of the life that you could be living, and you're living those concurrently at all times. Like, oh, that scares the shit out of me thinking that.
It scares you for never reaching the potential?
Potentially never reaching for it, right? So then that's when that is what breaks me out of that whole mindset of like, look, you just have to go for it. You just have to start taking action and stop second guessing.
I think, because people are scared of the failure, right? But I think regret is way worse.
Oh, far worse. But then you even think about like, what's the failure, right? Like what?
Yeah, what is the
have
failure?
You even questioned what that even is? Like that's what I was getting to before. It's like, what even is failure? Like have we even tried to define it? Because it's like if you
a thing that didn't work, I guess. But it's like things that don't work happen all the time. I've had projects that started and it did, like nobody knows about them because I didn't announce them. But there's been things that I've gone, oh yeah, that didn't really work. I'll just it happens all the time.
What's it saying that the fear is it's a mile wide but an inch deep. So, you know, you just take a step forward and you just realize like it's not that bad. Like you're not going to drown. And
most of the time that you learn a really good lesson, like every successful business person has failed at something. There's no people that are really, really, really successful in life that haven't had like 4 or 5 failures before. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Unless you just completely like failed upwards and, you know, just accidentally made it.
I don't know. There's people that have maybe an overnight success, but it's not sustainable. So the lessons that you learn in the failure is what's going to make the success, way more sweet, but also sustainable, because you're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do this, like those things that I did last time.
And there's probably something that you can say being someone behind the lens, because now I'm flipping it back to the musicians, right? Like it'd be pretty hard to come back from a catastrophic failure.
Like Drake. That's big full circle. Bring back to Drake.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think he picked the wrong fight.
Oh, he absolutely picked the wrong fight. But that's, it's when you've lost, like that is I don't even know if he realizes yet the actual failure, but you've lost a lot of the public belief. So it's very tricky. I mean, he's going to always have his core fans.
I think so.
They're there. They think that he won. They're living in an alternate universe. That's fine. And they'll support him and go to shows and stuff. But it's just different. Like, I think it's going to be forever different. So, there is a tangible, but there's a different way to deal with a failure that would look different than what this looks like, I think. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think that's a good example of mishandling a bad situation.
Massively, like at every point, mishandling. Like, I don't know who's in his corner, but so much mishandling. Because what he should have done, in my opinion, was just go underground for 6 months.
Just hide.
Not hide, but go and do the work.
Yeah.
And come out with, about now, after the Super Bowl, March, April, with a banger album.
Okay.
And what he did was try to play it off. Oh, I'm fine. I've got bullet holes. I'm fine. Put out a bunch of incredibly bad music for 6 months, and then put out a very mid album that was just full of
just reactive
fluff. I feel a bit sorry for Party, actually, because I feel like, anyway, that could have been a different album, but puts out a pretty average album with a couple of good songs, but a lot of filler, and it's not landing with people. A few weeks later, no one cares about it. He needed to do the go underground, go do the work. This is the Drake you remember, come out with those songs.
Maybe it was just the way that it was always going to be, because he's a pop artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how much depth does his work actually have?
If you ask me,
I'm not a big fan. I don't
either. So,
I
don't think he has much depth at all.
Yeah, so I don't know how much he was going to be able to come back from all of these.
I mean, I still think he could have if he just had played it differently, but like, I think it's impossible now. Like, I just don't think people will see him the same. I could be wrong. He might come out with, I don't know. I think everyone, I mean, you can see it in comments. You can see it with people that you talk to. It's like the feeling is he's lost the shine.
But Kendrick was absolutely pumped up as well, as in like he was just put on blast. That song it's everywhere and has been everywhere for months.
Yeah. Well, I found out the other day, which I had forgotten, because my God, the dopamine I felt during that battle, I'm not sure I'll ever reach the highs that I felt again. But that song came out in May of last year, which I definitely remember when I went to America in August. It was everywhere, like every radio station, not like us. There was actually a radio station that I was playing in the car that we were driving, and it was Not Like Us, and Euphoria was playing like every hour. They were playing those songs, and I'm like, this is amazing. But I think what Drake failed to realize, and obviously because he tried to sue over this song, but he didn't realize that it legitimately was a worldwide hit. Like, it was one of those songs that's like, people joke as it got crack in it. Like, it was it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in Africa, if you're in India, you're in Australia, you're wherever you are, that song is everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's a song, that has lyrics that are funny.
It brought actually, I mean, just the concept of the song, you take the beef out of it, and it's just about having your people, right? Mm-hmm. It's about your people. So I think that's kind of why.
It's about two types of people.
Mm-hmm.
One being sort of like, do you want to be the stand-up citizen? Do you want to be the person with the husband, the children, the look to God, versus
with moral integrity
versus the 40-year-old at the strip club still taking drugs, still having sex with a different woman every night. It's that duality.
Yeah.
And people are going to gravitate towards different personalities for different reasons. But essentially, that's what the beef was about, was like breaking down the two humans. And he was able to break down what that, like every single pain point that Drake would actually have in his life, he pointed at and said, that's like a weakness essentially. And I mean, if you listen to Euphoria, it's like, it is like a masterclass in slicing someone to the bone, and like in every aspect of their life, and going, that's the core of you, and it's a pile of shit, really. Yeah.
And then because it has been so, widely received by the public, I think it's just a reflection on society and just where we're at with just trying to cut the garbage.
That's why I was so happy that Kendrick won, because I felt like finally the big commercial glitz, glamour of what they've made hip hop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drugs, sex, alcohol, strip clubs, what Drake represents, that part, like the good times, but the culture one, right?
Yeah.
The man that's the substance, the integrity, he's about repping his hood. He's about, he's about repping the people that he grew up with, the culture, the city, everything about it. Like, that's what came out on top. That is such, like, that's why I was so addicted to it. It's like, it was so poetic that I felt hip hop culture won. And if you can't see that, they not like us. Like, it's like, that's like the song. You can't see it if you're on the wrong side of history. That's what I believe.
And if you want to, look at it that way, you look at like, so Compton, there's so much like just the maturity in that from where it was, because it was about Drake's life, right? Like when hip hop at the time was up and coming, it was aspiring to be that, and now it's
100%.
kind of, and it's just
coming
matured.
back to the roots.
Yeah.
It's like we're reclaiming. That's what Kendrick's saying. Is like, we're reclaiming what hip hop culture is about. It is about our people. It is important for his people to have it back where it should be, rather than the colonizer.
Yeah, and if you look at that clip. Compton, and just historically, punching well above its weight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just so much talent to have come out from just that small little...
Absolutely. And that, again, and what Kendrick did at the Pop-Out, and repping LA, repping local artists from LA, putting those local artists on GNX, giving them their props. Like, this is why I could talk about Kendrick all day, because I just feel like he is the moment, he is the culture. Everyone should be behind. If you love hip hop, everyone should be behind that, because what became of the commercialization of hip hop has watered down and commercialized it for sure.
Yeah.
But the essence had been lost a little bit, and Kendrick's like, we're bringing it back. Amen.
It's good to see. It's good to see, like, because when I was, up and coming.
I'm getting ready to fight in your comments with the like Drake fans.
No. I think, look, I don't know. Look, I know a few Drake fans, but I don't know. There's just been something about him has always kind of irked me.
Same.
I won't lie.
Yeah.
At this point now, you have. You're the ARIA award. See,
yes.
This is what I was getting at. Like, there's all these accomplishments, all these things that you've done. They're kind of like all packaged up nicely as Michelle G. Hunder, but they're all also quite separate, right? And then thrown in there is an ARIA award for album cover.
Mm-hmm.
What was? Can you? I want to understand when they award best cover.
Mm-hmm.
What are they looking for? What is the criteria of what determines the best album cover?
That's a great question. I didn't really realize before. So obviously, there's a voting panel that is the peers. So they're Australian music industry people that vote for the best cover. So there's not. It's not like. I guess they're just voting for their favorite cover of the year. So they have that, you get, but it's like there's not a criteria that says it should be X, Y, Z, or like it really is this is why I think this particular award meant a lot, because it was voted by industry people that know me, my work, the artist that I was working with, Kobe, who was really having a moment, Forest Claudette, and it was also with Grey Ghost, my longtime collaborator, who I think I do my best work when we work together. But the industry people thought that it was the best cover out of all of the covers that were shortlisted for the year. But essentially it's photography or design, so it doesn't have to be a photograph. But until recently, the photographer was not awarded the ARIA.
Accredited, yeah.
It was just the designer. And it was something that I was vocally against for years, and they did change it recently, which I was very happy about, obviously, because there was times where it was like a beautiful photo of an artist, and then it was like text of a person, and the person that put the text on won the ARIA. And this has happened this has happened, trust me. So I think again, I was saying that there's a thing about a seat at the table, and when you're nominated for an ARIA, you're not automatically invited to the awards. I didn't have a ticket. Jeremy didn't have a ticket. There's a whole story around that and how we even got in. Jeremy had to sneak in. Again, these are the things that I'm like, we're still not really awarded the respect that I think we should, when it's like, what do you mean we're not invited when we're nominated? So what happens? You just go, oh, well, they're not here. And like, so again, just stuff that I'm still vocal and want to be fighting for, because I feel like we deserve a seat at the table. Like, and if you're nominated for best video, the same thing. The labels pay for the people that are nominated. So if you're nominated, I was nominated under a Sony artist, but Sony has all of these other people that they have to invite to the ARIAs. Right. And they have to pay, it's $500 or might even be more now, might be $600 or $650 a ticket to go to the event. But my whole thing is like, we're not even invited to buy a ticket. Like, we weren't even invited at all. They're like, oh, sorry, it's sold out. And I'm like, anyway, we got there through whatever means that we had to get there. We got in, we got our award, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly like the day and how things, but there's a whole backstory to that, but that's fine. It's one of those things that holds weight with people outside the industry. So it's like one of those things where, your mum and dad know what it is, and your friends from high school that you haven't heard from in 25 years, like, oh my God, you won an ARIA. Like, it's that, which is really nice, because otherwise it's like, there's obviously awards that I've won before, but no one knows what they are. And I'm not big on awards anyway. I'm like, whatever. It's like, they don't really mean anything. But the ARIA at least feels like it's a thing that's tangible, to be like, I belong in this industry. I feel like 15 years, I've contributed a lot, and I feel like it's just a nice thing to have. It's
like you were saying, it's an industry that is adjacent to what you do. Like, you are a photographer, so it's not necessarily a photography award per se. It is an award for your photography, but by an industry that you are involved in, right? So it is so it's not even just recognition from fellow photographers or people of other.
Like, yeah, it's industry wide.
It's industry wide, so it's you being recognised
it's like
for your
managers, label people, and I think that was
so all those people they had a contributing say.
Yeah, so it's like particular people, and I don't know how they pick those people, but it's an industry panel of people. Like I can vote now because I've won an ARIA. I can vote for ARIAs. So there's a whole range of people. It's like hundreds of people that vote. And I think that's what was really great, was so many people that I'd, worked with throughout the years would message me and go, I voted for you, like afterwards, which is just cool. Like, technically we're probably not meant to say anything, but how nice is that to be like, oh, that's like they wanted me to win. That's really cool. Like that's really special and awesome. And I really appreciated that. So, like I said, I'm not big on awards. I don't even enter like competitions or anything like that. It's not a big thing for me, but I just think this particular one and the fact that it was with Jeremy, who I just adore. And like I said, I think I do my best work when we work together. So, it just felt like a nice little special moment.
That's brilliant. So what are you working on at the minute? What's the next big dragon that you're slaying?
I think for the last couple of years it's been the studio that we set up, Got Next, shout out, Got Next. Setting up like a community hub, really. Yep. A space where we've got resident photographers that can come in and work from there, that just feels like a place that people can create. It's not cliquey, like you can be a photographer of any level and come, like it's like some spaces like, you got to be like one of the cool kids to get invited or whatever. I'm like, I want it to be a space where people can learn.
It's super comfortable being in there. It felt really, really nice, really warm, really inviting stepping in.
I think that's the biggest feedback we get. People, first of all, people go, do you live here? They think it's our house, which is hilarious.
It feels very homely. Yeah. It really does.
I guess, because we've decorated it sort of like, it looks, it's like a hangout spot with a cool vibe. And I love going to work every day with my husband, bring the puppies in. And that's been a beast of its own, just setting that up and being a thing and like getting the resident photographers and learning how to get bookings of like, because you can book it casually and all that sort of stuff. So just trying to create a bit of a vibe around the space has been my project for the last 2 years. And I feel like it's getting to a point now where it's almost sort of self-sufficient, like it's doing its thing. There. Yeah. I don't know what the next big project is. Me and my bestie Sofina, she's an amazing journalist, one of Australia's best music journalists by far. We've sort of teamed up and we've started doing work together where we go. At the moment it's been festivals, but we sort of want to extend that a little bit. But a good example is we go to a festival and we do a backstage activity where we do backstage portraits and then she does a little write-up of the artist, and that's been, sort of international artists.
Not Fest was just the last one?
Not Fest was the last one. We did Good Things. So we've done a couple. We did another one. We did the Not Fest the year before as well. But we've just gone for a grant, so fingers crossed, to do that a little bit more structured, but with local sort of up and coming artists, so we can sort of profile.
Wow.
Yeah, and be like, these are the like ones to watch sort of thing, like who's doing stuff, like because there's not much discovery happening. Like, how do you find out about artists now? And we've both got experience. People sort of do come to us to see what sort of who's around, what's happening, and a great opportunity to work with people and then hopefully grow it into something that becomes like, not like a publication, but maybe it's like an Instagram page or a website or something that you can go to. It's like to learn more, have a bit more of a deep dive on artists. So that's a really cool project.
What's this current form at the minute? Is it on?
The current, we don't really even have, like at the moment, all the stuff that we've been doing has been just published on Rolling Stone.
Right, of course,
But it'd be great to, you know, we have a platform, like whether it's an Instagram page, it could just be a page, or and then a longer form article somewhere where you can read about the artist. But, you know, beautiful portraits, like doing a little photo series. I miss just going out and shooting with people as well. Like
ad hoc.
Yeah, environmental portraiture stuff has been really cool. It could be a combination between a bit of studio, a bit of environmental. That's the good thing about the festival stuff, is it's like really I've really had to get my creativity on in some of those spaces where there's just nothing. Like Knotfest was like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what am I working with today? There's white tents and toilet blocks. Like, so I was like, okay, was shooting into the sky most of the day. But just, I mean, that's really challenging, because it's like I'm not in my studio. I've got no lights. I'm with an artist. I have probably 3 to 5 minutes with them and I've got to get something that looks kind of cool. So it's good to really practice your skills in that environment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're based out of Footscray.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You can find me. So Michelle G. Hunder is my Instagram, and then Got Next Studios is the studio page, and we've got Next TV as well, which is the production company that I have with my husband. So we do stuff, video stuff, and film stuff together as well, which is really cool. That's me.
Studio based out in Footscray. Pop in,
come say hi.
Yeah, like I was saying, I really enjoyed being in that space. I really do encourage any budding creatives, photographers, check it out, get connected. There's so much that they can learn, and the actual studio, the shooting
the site,
range. Oh my god, that was cool. That's pretty next level.
It was cool as a photographer to be like, I'm going to build it exactly how I want it to be. You know, that's a really cool thing to be able to do. So, yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
You.
That was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me. That was such a great chat. It was really cool.